What you're looking at is not a crash, but it easily could have been. At this exact moment, that plane is being slammed by winds stronger than a hurricane. The pilot is seconds away from one of the most dangerous maneuvers in commercial aviation, a crosswind landing. Normally, planes land straight down the runway, but crosswinds? They try to blow the aircraft off the runway, sideways, while it's still flying. So how do pilots stop a 100-ton jet from turning into a kite? Why do some landings look like the plane is coming in diagonally? And what happens if the pilot gets it wrong? Today, you're about to find out. We've collected some of the most extreme crosswind landings ever caught on camera, and we're going to break down exactly what's happening in each one. By the end of this video, you'll know how these landings work, how pilots train for them, and why that sideways plane you saw last time wasn't a mistake. Let's start with the basics. What even is a crosswind? A crosswind is any wind that hits the aircraft at an angle, instead of straight down the runway. The stronger that angle, and the stronger the wind, the harder the landing gets. Now imagine trying to land a metal tube with wings, while the wind is trying to shove it sideways, off the runway, and into the grass. That's a crosswind landing. So how do pilots land when there is a crosswind? They crab the plane, which means pointing the nose into the wind to stay aligned with the runway. It looks weird, like the plane is flying diagonally, but it works, until the last second, when they have to straighten out, drop the wheels and land safely. This ensures a safe landing, but this maneuver is inherently risky. This is because crosswinds aren't steady. Sometimes, they gust, they shift, they disappear, then slam back stronger. And that brings us to the real nightmare: wind shear. Wind shear is a sudden violent change in wind speed or direction. 1 second you're gliding in smooth air, the next, it's like the ground just dropped out from under you. Pilots train for it in simulators. But in real life, wind shear can knock a plane off of its glide path, throw it into a stall, or make the landing gear slam into the runway way too early. Combine wind shear with a strong crosswind, and you've got one of the most dangerous situations a commercial pilot can face. This is why some airports like Heathrow, Madeira, or Hong Kong's Old Kai Tak are infamous for their landings. The wind there doesn't play nice. And now that you understand how crosswinds work and why wind shear is a whole different beast, let's take a look at some real footage. Starting with a landing so sketchy, even the pilots were sweating. This was a very scary landing. The pilots had little time to react to the changing crosswind and huge wind gusts. They got the aeroplane under control using the rudder and heavy braking. This 747 performs a textbook crosswind landing. Its nose is pointed into the oncoming wind, and the pilots are keeping the plane in the correct stance for a successful landing. The touchdown is hard, called a positive landing, so as to dissipate some of the speed and force that the plane carries to slow down as fast as possible. It also prevents hydroplaning if the runway is wet. This is a FedEx McDonnell Douglas DC-10, a wide-body cargo aircraft built like a tank, and it needs to be, especially in these conditions. Watch how the pilots handle the massive wingspan and tri-engine setup as crosswinds shove the plane from side to side. They use a controlled crab angle and a firm touchdown to keep this freight-filled beast steady. FedEx has flown the DC-10 for decades, and this landing shows exactly why they're known for elite cargo pilot training. Here comes the Airbus A340, a long-haul legend with 4 engines and a reputation for smooth performance. But even this graceful bird isn't immune to crosswinds. Watch how the pilots manage the extended fuselage and wide wingspan as gusts buffet the approach. This aircraft demands finesse, too much rudder or a late correction, and things get unstable fast, but the crew keeps it calm, coordinated, and perfectly timed. Here comes the Airbus A320, one of the most popular jets in the skies today. But in crosswinds, even this nimble workhorse can get bounced around. Look closely. The pilot chooses a subtle side-slip technique, banking slightly into the wind, keeping the nose aligned with the runway. The Airbus A330, sleek, efficient, and deceptively large. In strong crosswinds, its long wings can flex dramatically, but the fly-by-wire system helps keep things stable. This short clip shows a textbook approach. Notice how the pilots maintain that crab all the way down until a smooth D-crab right before the wheels hit. The Boeing 737, short, sturdy, and one of the most trusted aircraft ever built. With a low-slung design and responsive controls, it's built to handle these gusty conditions. In this landing, the pilot holds the crab until the very last moment, then swings the nose straight with a swift rudder correction right at touchdown. Here's another A320, but this time, the winds are more unpredictable. Notice how the approach feels slightly off-center. That's intentional. Pilots often line up offset when the wind is stronger on one side, using visual cues to judge drift. The landing might look rough, but it's well within limits, and safe is always better than smooth. Another A330. But this time, it's all about the atmosphere. The approach happens under a glowing sunset, with shifting crosswinds adding tension to an otherwise calm scene. The silhouette of the aircraft holds steady, even as gusts test the pilot's control in the final moments. There's no aggressive flair, no drama, just smooth, deliberate corrections as the gear touches down right on centerline. A perfect landing, quiet, controlled, and beautifully timed with the light fading behind it. The Airbus A380, the largest passenger aircraft on the planet, battling crosswinds. This double-decker giant weighs over 1.2 million pounds at max takeoff. Despite its size, it handles surprisingly well thanks to powerful flight computers and enormous control surfaces. The Edelweiss Air A320, landing at the infamous Skiathos airport in Greece. Known as the European St. Martin, Skiathos has a short runway and tricky coastal winds. This approach is low and fast, and look how close it gets to the road just before the threshold. Edelweiss is a Swiss leisure airline, and this crew brings their A-game to one of Europe's most challenging airports. A tight landing, perfect crosswind control, and applause-worthy piloting. And as we wrap up, we'll let the final landings speak for themselves. 2 more Airbus A320s and 2 Boeing 737s, each battling the wind in their own way. No narration, no breakdowns, just raw crosswind action and pure pilot skill. Sit back, watch closely, and enjoy every second of it.